Ladies and gentlemen, growth is never comfortable. It's not supposed to be. The moment you step out of what feels safe, what feels familiar, you start to feel resistance. That's the discomfort of change, the feeling of breaking through old habits, old environments, and old versions of yourself. But here's the thing. Discomfort is a sign that you're moving in the right direction. If you're always at ease, always in control, always within your comfort zone, you're not growing, you're staying the same. Think about every major transformation in life. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Skills don't sharpen without practice. Wisdom doesn't come without experience. Every great success, every breakthrough, every personal evolution comes with struggle. The late nights, the early mornings, the failures, the self-doubt, the moments when quitting feels easier. Those are the moments that shape you. That's the process. That's the test. Most people run from discomfort because they mistake it for failure. They think if something is hard, it's a sign to stop. But that's the difference between those who stay average and those who level up. The ones who make it understand that discomfort isn't a wall, it's a doorway. Every challenge, every obstacle, every setback is just a step in the process. The struggle you're feeling isn't there to break you, it's there to build you. The more you embrace discomfort, the stronger you become. You stop fearing challenges and start seeking them. You stop avoiding the hard work and start craving it. Because you understand that every time you push through, you unlock a new level of yourself. The pain, the frustration, the moments of doubt, they are proof that you are becoming something greater. Growth never feels good in the moment, but it always pays off in the end. Nobody is going to believe in you the way you believe in yourself. Nobody is going to see your vision the way you see it. People will doubt you, question you, and try to make you second-guess your own potential. That's why you have to bet on yourself. You have to be your own biggest supporter, your own motivation, your own reason to keep going when everything around you tries to convince you otherwise. Strength doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't beg for attention or demand recognition, it simply is. A truly strong woman understands that power isn't about volume, it's about presence. It's about the quiet confidence that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without a single word. She doesn't announce her strength, she embodies it. Look at nature. The strongest forces move in silence. The sun rises without a sound, yet it lights up the entire world. The roots of a mighty tree grow deep beneath the soil, unseen, yet they hold everything together. A lion doesn't roar before the hunt. It moves quietly, deliberately, knowing its power is in the element of surprise. A woman of strength operates the same way. She doesn't waste energy proving herself to people who don't matter. She doesn't need to defend her worth or explain her purpose. She lets her actions speak. She lets her consistency build a legacy. She prays in private, works behind the scenes, and moves with wisdom instead of noise. She understands that silence is a weapon. It keeps her focused. It protects her from distractions. It allows her to listen to God, to her intuition, to the lessons hidden in the stillness. The world glorifies loudness, but true power is in restraint. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. Strength is found in the woman who doesn't react to every insult, who doesn't chase every argument, who doesn't need approval to validate her journey. Her silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is self-control. It is knowing that battles are won in the spirit before they are seen in the physical. And when the time is right, when she steps forward, her impact is undeniable. Not because she was the loudest, but because she was ready. Faith doesn't compete with noise. It doesn't argue, it doesn't beg, and it doesn't require constant reassurance. Faith is steady, unwavering, and unshaken by the distractions of the world. A woman who walks in faith understands that she doesn't have to announce every move, defend every decision, or prove herself to those who don't understand her calling. She moves in obedience, trusting that God's plan is greater than human approval. Noise is everywhere. Opinions, doubts, criticisms. They come from every direction. The world will always have something to say, whether she's doing too much or not enough. But faith teaches her to block out the noise and tune in to the voice that matters most. It teaches her that she doesn't need to explain herself when God has already given her confirmation. She prays instead of arguing. She trusts instead of panicking. She keeps moving forward when others hesitate, not because she has all the answers, but because she knows who does. The strongest women in the Bible were never the loudest. They didn't chase platforms or seek validation. Esther didn't need to announce her purpose. She prepared in silence until the right moment. Ruth didn't demand recognition. Mary didn't argue with those who doubted her. She simply carried the promise within her, knowing that in time, the truth would reveal itself. Faith gives her the ability to stand firm when everything around her is shaking. It allows her to walk into rooms where she is underestimated and still know she belongs. It reminds her that she is not alone, that she doesn't need to shout to be heard, and that the quiet strength of her belief will always outlast the noise of the world. Prayer is not just words, it is power. It is the silent force that shifts things in the spiritual before they manifest in the physical. A woman who understands the power of prayer does not rely on human strength alone. She knows that real battles are won on her knees. She doesn't just pray when things are falling apart, she prays to keep things together. She doesn't just call on God in crisis, she stays in constant communication, knowing that prayer is her greatest weapon, her shield, and her source of strength. In a world that moves fast and demands quick results, prayer requires patience. It teaches her to trust in God's timing, even when it feels like nothing is happening. She knows that just because she doesn't see the answer yet, doesn't mean God isn't working. The unseen work of prayer is what builds unshakable faith. Every whispered request, every tear cried in the secret place, every moment spent seeking His presence, it all matters. She doesn't pray for the applause of others. She doesn't need people to witness her devotion for it to be real. Some of the most powerful prayers are prayed in silence, in solitude, when no one else is watching. She prays over her family, her future, her purpose, believing that God hears every word, even the ones she can't bring herself to say out loud. Prayer is her strategy. It is how she fights battles that others don't even know exist. It is how she finds peace when the world is chaotic. It is how she steps into rooms with confidence, knowing that she has already laid the foundation in the Spirit. Prayer is not just an act. It is a lifestyle, a force, and a direct line to the one who holds everything together. Purpose is bigger than popularity. It is not about being seen, liked, or celebrated by the world. It is about fulfilling what God has placed inside of her, even when no one is watching. A woman who chooses purpose over popularity understands that applause is temporary, but impact is eternal. She does not chase validation because she knows that obedience to God is worth more than approval from people. Popularity fades. One day people cheer, the next day they forget. But purpose remains. Purpose is what keeps her going when the excitement wears off. It is what gives her strength when the journey feels lonely. She doesn't measure success by how many people know her name, but by how faithfully she walks in her calling. She understands that the world rewards visibility, but God rewards faithfulness. The women in the Bible who changed history were not concerned with being known. Esther risked her life for her people, not for fame. Ruth worked in the fields unnoticed, yet her faithfulness led her to her destiny. Mary carried the greatest purpose ever known, yet she did not seek recognition. She simply obeyed. They did not chase platforms, they chased God. And because of that, their names are still remembered. Not because they sought popularity, but because they walked in purpose. A woman who values purpose knows that her worth is not defined by numbers, followers, or approval. She understands that doing what she was created to do is far more powerful than any spotlight. She does not need the world to acknowledge her when she knows God has already called her. She moves with quiet confidence, focused on the mission, trusting that in the end, what truly matters is not how many people knew her, but how many lives were changed because she walked in obedience. Pressure reveals character. It shows who a person truly is when the weight of life presses down. A woman of grace does not crumble under pressure. She stands firm. She does not allow difficulties to shake her faith or bitterness to harden her heart. She moves through challenges with a quiet strength, knowing that grace is not about avoiding the storm, but about enduring it with dignity. She understands that pressure is part of the process. Diamonds are formed under extreme heat. Gold is refined in fire. And some of the greatest victories come from the hardest battles. She does not waste time complaining about what she is going through. Instead, she leans on God, knowing that He is using every trial to shape her into something greater. She holds on to peace even when the world around her is chaotic. She does not react to negativity with more negativity. She responds with wisdom, patience, and unwavering faith. The strongest women in Scripture were tested. Esther had to risk her life before she could save her people. Hannah prayed through years of waiting before her blessing arrived. Mary faced judgment and uncertainty, yet carried the promise of God without fear. None of them had an easy path, but they carried themselves with grace through every challenge. A woman of grace does not let pressure break her spirit. She does not seek revenge when she is wrong, does not let anger control her, and does not let pain make her bitter. She rises above it. She keeps her eyes on the purpose, not the problem. And because she refuses to let pressure define her, she emerges stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the blessings that come after the storm. Words can be empty, but actions reveal the truth. A woman of strength does not waste time making promises she won't keep or speaking about things she has no intention of doing. She moves with purpose, allowing her actions to be the evidence of her faith, her discipline, and her commitment. She does not need to tell the world she is working. The results will speak for her. Talk is easy. Anyone can say they believe, say they are strong, say they have a dream, but faith without works is dead. Strength without action is meaningless. A woman who truly understands her purpose knows that movement is more powerful than words. She prays, but she also prepares. She believes, but she also builds. She does not waste time explaining herself to those who doubt her. She simply does the work and lets the results prove her dedication. Look at Ruth. She didn't sit around waiting for a breakthrough. She got up, went to work, and positioned herself for the blessings that followed. Look at Esther. She didn't just talk about courage. She walked into the king's presence and saved her people. Look at the Proverbs 31 woman. She wasn't just known for what she said, but for what she did, how she provided, how she managed, how she built. A woman who understands that actions speak louder than words does not seek approval. She does not argue with those who don't believe in her. She doesn't chase recognition or validation. She simply stays focused, consistent, and disciplined. She knows that the loudest thing she can ever do is show up, do the work, and let her actions speak for themselves. The world may not always listen to what she says, but they will always see what she does. Victory is not just about strength. It is about strategy. A woman walking with divine wisdom understands that every move she makes must be guided by God, not impulse, not emotion, not the pressure of others. She does not rush into decisions without prayer, nor does she fight battles that are not hers to fight. She moves with intention, knowing that patience and discernment are often more powerful than immediate action. Some battles are won in silence. Some victories come from knowing when to step forward and when to wait. Esther did not rush to the king the moment she heard of her people's danger. She fasted, she prayed, she prepared. Deborah did not lead blindly. She listened to God's instruction, spoke with authority, and positioned her people for success. Even Jesus moved strategically, knowing the timing of every miracle, the purpose behind every step, the necessity of every quiet moment before the great reveal. A woman with divine strategy understands that every season requires a different approach. There are moments to speak and moments to stay silent, times to fight and times to let God handle the battle. She does not allow fear to push her into making reckless decisions, nor does she allow doubt to paralyze her into inaction. She seeks wisdom, knowing that the right move at the right time can change everything. She is not distracted by what others are doing. She does not compare her journey to those around her because she knows her steps are ordered differently. She follows the divine blueprint, trusting that God's strategy is greater than her own understanding. She moves with confidence, not because she knows every detail, but because she knows the one who does. And when she steps forward, it is not by accident, it is by divine design. True strength is not found in arrogance, but in humility. A woman who understands her worth does not need to boast or seek constant validation. She knows that confidence and humility can exist together, that lowering herself in service does not mean lowering her value. She moves with quiet assurance, understanding that true power is not about being above others, but about lifting others up. Humility is not weakness, it is wisdom. It allows her to learn, to grow, to receive correction without offense. She does not pretend to know everything because she understands that strength comes from being teachable. She does not see humility as losing power, but as gaining grace. She is secure enough to admit when she needs help, strong enough to listen instead of always speaking, and wise enough to know that pride destroys, but humility builds. Jesus, the greatest example of strength, walked in humility. He did not demand attention, yet people followed him. He did not seek titles, yet he was called king. He washed the feet of his disciples, showing that true leadership is about serving, not controlling. A woman who follows this example knows that real influence comes not from demanding respect, but from earning it through love, kindness, and character. She does not use her gifts to make herself look great, but to glorify God. She does not chase recognition, knowing that favor finds those who walk in obedience. She does not fight to be seen, but trusts that God will elevate her in His time. Humility allows her to stay grounded when success comes and stay strong when challenges arise. It is not about thinking less of herself, but about thinking of herself less, allowing her actions to speak louder than her ego ever could. Victory is not just a hope, it is a certainty for a woman who walks in faith and obedience. She understands that the battle she faces is not hers alone, but that she is partnered with the one who has already won. The outcome is not in question. Victory is a given when she stands on the promises of God. It is inevitable because her strength does not come from herself, but from the one who has already overcome the world. Every trial, every setback, every moment of doubt only serves to refine her. She doesn't fear the fight, she embraces it, knowing that her purpose is greater than the challenge before her. The enemy may roar, circumstances may shake, and people may doubt, but she knows that victory has already been secured. Her faith is unwavering, rooted in the truth that no weapon formed against her shall prosper. She holds on to the belief that every setback is simply setting the stage for her greatest comeback. Like David facing Goliath, she might seem outmatched, outnumbered, and unprepared, but she knows that with God on her side, she is more than enough. The victory is in the obedience, in the trust, and in the knowledge that she is not fighting for a win, but fighting from one. She doesn't need to fight for the victory, it's already been granted to her. She stands firm, knowing that even if she cannot see the end of the battle, God is working on her behalf. Victory is inevitable, because it's not about her own strength or abilities, but about her faith in God's promises. She walks with the assurance that no matter what, she is destined to overcome, and nothing can stop what God has already declared.